Hey everyone, and welcome to a very special explainer. Today, we are going to do something a little different. We're going to step directly inside a living, breathing storybook to explore this incredibly beautiful moment of courage, vulnerability, and human connection. It's a short story, but man, it is profoundly moving. It perfectly captures how we communicate our deepest feelings when words just completely fail us. We're going to break down the setting, the emotional arc, and the powerful resolution of this tale.
Right, let's dive into this. To truly unpack the magic of this narrative and make those emotional stakes crystal clear, I am going to explain this story entirely from my own point of view. We are going to step right into the shoes of the main character, starting exactly how all our favorite fairy tales do, once upon a time. Looking at this through a first-person lens really helps us feel that visceral impact of unexpected vulnerability. So, imagine me as the protagonist here, and let's walk through this experience together.
Chapter 1: Memories of the Hostel. So, months ago, I met this exceptionally handsome boy from a small village. This was back when we were both living in the student hostel. And from pretty early on, I felt like we were soulmates, you know? There was just this undeniable connection. But over the weeks, I realized a really crucial detail about him. He was never very good with words. He always struggled to articulate what was on his mind. That background is absolutely essential to understand everything that happens next. Fast forward to today, and the timeline brings us to a quiet walk by the sea. Which brings us to Chapter 2, A Walk by the Sea.
I was taking a solitary walk along the beach. Now, I want you to really picture this scene with me. The magnificent sound of the crashing waves is just filling the air. You can feel the salty breeze, the steady rhythm of the ocean. It was an entirely ordinary moment, except for one massive detail. I was completely unaware that a secret letter had been quietly slipped into my bag. It's this perfect contrast, right? The loud, crashing external environment all around me versus this quiet, hidden message I was carrying without even knowing it.
Chapter 3, Words on a Page. So I reach into my bag and I find this unexpected piece of paper. The message wasn't long at all, just a few sentences, but written with incredible care. The very first line read, "I don't know how to say this out loud." And wow, how perfectly does that align with what I already knew about him from our hostel days? As I opened it and read those carefully written words, my heart immediately began to race. In fact, my internal excitement was perfectly matching the wild, unpredictable rhythm of the ocean waves crashing right beside me. The note continued, "But you've made my world brighter." As I read that second line, my internal excitement didn't just race. It built up and swelled, literally like the rising tide of the ocean. It's such a simple sentence, but coming from someone who constantly struggles to speak his mind, it carried this immense, undeniable weight. And then, the conclusion of the letter. "And I can't stop thinking of you." Reading those final, definitive words, the overwhelming joy simply took over. All that unspoken tension, all those quiet moments back in the village in the student hostel, they suddenly made perfect sense right there on this small piece of paper. In this exact perfect moment, tears began forming in my eyes. I just started crying. And it wasn't out of sadness, not at all. It was just the beautiful, overwhelming weight of his confession washing over me, completely breaking down all of my emotional defenses. Chapter 4, The Nervous Boy. Because let's be real, a letter is just a letter until the sender actually steps into the light. So I looked up, I glanced behind me, and there he was. He was standing completely frozen in the sand. And there was this incredibly nervous, almost frightened energy just radiating from him. He had put his absolute entire heart on the line by slipping that note into my bag. And now he was caught in that terrifying limbo of waiting for my reaction. His vulnerability in this moment is the absolute crux of the whole story. Holding up the little letter in my hand, I looked at him and asked the only question that mattered right then. Is it true? It was the only way to bridge the gap between his written words and the need for a real in-person confirmation. I needed to hear it, or at least see it from him directly. And that leads us to our final chapter, Chapter 5, A Golden Sunset Confession. He couldn't quite find the spoken words, but he gave this nervous, silent nod of confirmation. And that nod was instantly met by my warm, reassuring smile. I understood him. And all of this unfolded while a stunning golden sunset lit up the magnificent scene around us, painting the absolute perfect backdrop for a moment of complete understanding between two people. Seeing his fear and knowing the monumental effort it took for him to even write those words, I wanted to give him absolute certainty.
So keeping my voice as soft and deeply sincere as I possibly could, I whispered my true feelings back to him. I feel the same. Two people, one shared truth, finally out in the open by the sea.
And as we close the cover on this storybook explainer, I want to turn it over to you. We've seen how a simple, hidden note can bridge the gap when words fail us. So I leave you with this question to reflect on. When your moment comes, whether it's through a letter, a whisper, or a grand gesture, what will give you the courage to finally share your truest feelings? Think about that for a bit, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.